Hello everyone. Welcome to Hollywood Recaps. Today we will be watching a summarized version of a sci-fi drama film from 2011 called Another Earth. Beware of the spoilers ahead. So, sit back, relax, and let's begin. Rhoda Williams is a high school student and amateur astronomer who has recently been accepted to MIT. She celebrates with friends and drives home intoxicated. Listening to a story about a planet that has just appeared in the sky on her car radio, she looks out her car window up to the stars and inadvertently slams her car through a stopped car at an intersection. After clambering out of the car, Rhoda discovers that she has killed the pregnant wife during the crash, but the man driving, John Burroughs, is still alive. Suddenly, police sirens are heard racing towards them. Rhoda sees a teddy bear in the back seat and soon discovers that the boy had been flung out the window and was now lying on the pavement, dead. Rhoda receives a 4-year prison sentence, but her identity is not communicated in the papers since she is a minor. 4 years later, Rhoda signs out of prison. After serving her prison sentence, Rhoda is picked up by her parents to live at their home. Radio broadcasts provide more information about the other planet, which has come much closer over the last 4 years and is now clearly visible in the sky during the day. It is a complete copy of Earth, with continents, cities, and oceans. Scientists are attempting to make contact, but they have difficulties broadcasting through all the signals coming from Earth 2, as they call it. During the ride home, Rhoda's brother tells of an essay contest sponsored by millionaire entrepreneur Keith Harding, funding a spaceflight to Earth 2. He grants a free ticket to the civilian who has the best motivation to join. Rhoda goes to bed but begins to research the competition. She loves space as hundreds of space posters and planets are hanging around her. She chooses not to use her old room but takes the attic instead. She decides to go to an agent to help her get a job. As an ex-convict, she knows that she will no longer be accepted at MIT, so she takes a job as a janitor at a local school, wanting to physically clean things with her hands but not do too much thinking. Rhoda meets the other staff member and builds something of a rapport with an old blind janitor called Pradeep but avoids contact with others as much as possible. After cleaning the school for a while, she returns home one day after work and goes to the intersection where she caused the fatal accident. She sees John Burroughs pulling over, placing one of his son's toys on the curb in memory of his deceased family. She decides to research him at home and discovers that he used to be a celebrated composer and musician. It also reads that John awoke from his coma when his entire family was already buried. She writes down his address to find his home, but she remains outside, not knowing what to do. As she makes her way back through the deep thick snow, she begins to partly undress and expose herself to the cold while watching Earth 2. But she is found before she freezes to death and is treated for mild frostbite. While recovering, Rhoda enters the essay contest, explaining how she is excluded from most privileges as an ex-convict. However, in the old days of naval exploration, it would often be ex-convicts who dared to take the risk of venturing into the unknown and were among the first to set foot on new worlds, so this would make her a likely candidate to be among the first to visit Earth 2. Rhoda bumps into an old school friend who is shocked to see her, and after a short catch-up, she decides to leave quickly. Riddled with guilt, she again visits John's house, hoping to apologize for her harm to him. He answers the door, and she loses her nerve. Instead, she pretends to be a maid, offering a free cleaning day as a marketing tool for Maiden Haven, a New Haven-based maid service. John, who has nearly dropped out of his Yale music faculty position and is now living in a depressed and dirty stupor, agrees to Rhoda's offer. She starts cleaning, and John notices her interest in a telescope lying in one of the rooms. When she finishes, John, who still does not know she is the person who killed his wife and son, asks her to come back next week. Rhoda tells him someone will come, but it may not be her. Back at home, Rhoda's brother shares the news that he has been accepted into UConn. Rhoda practices her concession speech for the next time she meets John Burroughs. She returns to his house, but he immediately puts her to work, not allowing her to say much. After her cleaning is done, he gives her a check and shows her out, again totally oblivious of who she is. Rhoda writes up the statement. The next day Rhoda goes back to John's house to clean again. However, she finds that he is passed out drunk on the sofa. She heads upstairs to find a telescope and sets it up. Back at home, a television broadcast shows a successful attempt by scientists to send a signal over to Earth 2. One of them finally makes contact with a person on the other side. Not only are there humans who speak English there, one scientist is startled to discover that the woman she is talking to is her exact copy in every aspect, same name, date, and location of birth, even the occupation and childhood memories match. Rhoda's family, however, thinks it is just an elaborate hoax. The broadcast immediately sparks a scientific debate. Physicists theorize that Earth 2 is a mirror planet, an exact copy of our Earth, including its inhabitants. Philosophers open up the possibility of meeting and talking with their precise composition, who may be identical but have led a different life. Rhoda cleans John's house and sees that he has brought down the telescope. He asks Rhoda to look through to see Earth too. They develop a caring relationship and are intelligent and compatible. Rhoda genuinely wants to be of service to him as he gradually comes out of his depressive stupor and regains some joy. They play a video game, and John opens up to her. Afterward, he offers her a ride home, during which they discuss their potential copies on Earth 2. When asked what she would say to her copy, Rhoda responds, "Better luck next time," before saying that she would probably be speechless. While dropping her off, John realizes that he doesn't know her name, so she tells him, "Rhoda." Again, no suspicion in John. At work, Pradeep seems to notice how conflicted Rhoda is. He tells her to keep her mind clear to obtain peace of mind. At John's house, they arrive on the subject of the first expedition that plans to go to Earth 2. Rhoda tells him a story of a cosmonaut who is alone in space, plagued by a ticking sound that he cannot stop. To maintain his sanity, the cosmonaut listens to the sound as if it were music, obtaining peace of mind. She tells him about the essay, but John is skeptical about the expedition. He uses Plato's allegory of the cave to illustrate how humanity may not be ready to accept that they are no longer unique, since they still believe that they are the center of the universe. When John learns that Rhoda has washed an article of clothing, presumably from his deceased wife, he becomes enraged and tells her to leave. A radio debate also warns about the potential dangers of Earth 2. This is because it also has humans with the same access to weapons, and comparably suspicious nature, which are ideal ingredients for conflict and mutually assured destruction. At work, Rhoda asks about Pradeep, who is in the hospital. He has poured bleach into his ears as he was reportedly tired of seeing himself everywhere. Outside, she meets John, who says he is looking for her, but nobody at Maiden Haven has heard from her, and all his checks have gone uncashed. She gives some quick explanations and accepts his apology for his earlier outburst. He invites her to his university, giving her a private concert of his new music. He takes out his saw and plays it like a cello. Rhoda starts to have visions of space and the life of an astronaut as it sounds like an alien ambience. Afterward, they go home, where they finally give in to their feelings and have an intimate moment. John tells about how he was finally content with his life when a drunk driver killed his wife, son, and unborn daughter. When he woke up from his coma, he was so angry at the perpetrator that he let his brother attend the lawsuits and never learned that person's identity since it was a minor. Again, Rhoda doesn't dare to confess. She looks in the bathroom mirror on the train ride home and throws up in the toilet, disgusted with herself. Rhoda visits the hospital to see Pradeep, who is now deaf and blind, hoping to hear an explanation for what he did. She hugs him, and he immediately guesses the reason why she is there and tells her she knows why he did it. She writes the word forgive in the palm of his hand, making the older man weep. Rhoda comes home and hears that the people from the space flight have called. She calls back and is answered by Keith Harding, who says her motivation moved him. He sympathizes with her, hinting that he once came close to becoming a convict himself, so the seat on the flight to the other Earth is hers. She goes to John to tell him that she has won the space flight and prepare for a training program in the Mojave Desert. John seems enthusiastic at first but then asks what testament and funeral arrangements he has to ensure she does not survive the flight. Finally, he flat out asks her not to go since they are so close to something now. She says that she will tell him a story, and if he still wants her to stay afterward, she'll visit. She tells him about how naive she used to be, and in her recklessness, she killed his wife and son. When she went to him to apologize, she lied, hoping to make his life somewhat better. But now, she fears that she is doing this to make herself come to terms with what she has done. Devastated by this confession, John angrily forces her out of his house. Rhoda returns home, finding out that the media have discovered that she is the winner of the spaceflight essay and an ex-convict. She is flooded with questions from reporters around her house and flees inside. Her parents are upset that she didn't mention this to them and want to know what she plans to do. She opens up the booklet filled with tickets to the space program in bed. In a telecast, they hear a theory that the citizens of the Mirror Earth were identical to those on our Earth in every way. Until the moment that they learned of the other's existence. From that point on, the exact people on the different piles of the Earth probably began to deviate in small ways, changing their actions and perhaps the course of their lives. Rhoda returns to John, but he refuses to open the door. She crawls inside through a window and tells John about the theory of broken synchronicity, which may have occurred 4 years ago. She gives him the ticket to the other Earth, tells him that there is a chance that his wife and son might still be alive on Earth 2, and leaves. Rhoda has switched the attic for her old room and watches a news program about the space flight to Earth 2 scheduled in a few days. She sees John giving an interview. He has undergone the space flight training in the Mojave Desert and says that he feels privileged and proud to be among the first to go. 4 months later, Rhoda is happy, and after work, she leaves to go home. When approaching her back door, She is startled by a confusing sight, her identical copy from the other Earth standing in front of her. She is wearing fashionable attire that contrasts strongly with her everyday clothes, suggesting that her twin has had a much better life for the last 4 years. The movie ends. If you enjoyed this video, please help us by clicking the like button and subscribing for more amazing content like this. Thanks for watching.